I'm Surya Gangadharan and I have with me Dr. Subba Rao, the CMD of Ananth Technologies, which covers the entire spectrum of space from launch vehicles and satellites to applications. Dr. Subba Rao, the space policy is now a year old. Where do you see the space ecosystem in India developing?
Let me get into something in how the space policy evolved. Before the space policy was announced by the government of India, the fact remains that the activity of the space related were only with the government. And the government, in the sense ISRO, was taking care of the building of the satellites, launching of the satellites, and finally making use of the satellites for the country. Now the space policy emphasizes clearly the government's intention that it has to be liberalized completely from the government side, and it is being done by taking the industry in India as a co-traveler. This is something very similar to the other liberalization policies like infrastructure related, communication related earlier. The same thing is now being done in the space sector also on that. After this was announced about a year ago, some time back, a couple of years ago in fact, the policies have been, they constitute in space as a regulator, that is to promote the space technologies in the country, then also to control in the sense that in terms of regulating the entire thing. So the in space has been already formed. And the space policy in terms of authorization also has been released by the government for in space. So therefore, and also the foreign investment into the space sector also been cleared by the government. Now the space draft bill is now in the finalization stage within the government. The process is on. So hopefully very soon we'll have the bill also passing through the parliament and cabinet and parliament, etc. So with that entire policy given a completely a kind of a form, Rupu and Rekha, what we call it in Sanskrit terms, it will happen on that. This will encourage the private industry to participate effectively into operations of the space technologies. And the government job would going to be, here the government it means Indian Space Program, ISRO job is going to be to deal with the research and development and of course the planetary missions like Gaganyaan program, Chandrayaan program and things like that. And where the private industry will be working on building the satellites, launching the satellites for communication, for Earth observation systems or into many other areas connected with that. So now there is a clear-cut demarcation of what the government would do and what private industry would do. And of course, private industry also will do the very innovative things like R&D, etc. And for getting this one done, there are also support systems like foreign direct investment coming into India and investing into various companies. So the enabling system also has been created. And the regulator in terms of in space also is in place now. So therefore, there's going to be easier to deal with the space sector. And since the potential that was expected to be is very, very high in this area, and the space sector is going to contribute immensely into the into the economy of the country, so the space economy is going to grow much bigger. And the Prime Minister expects the 5 trillion economy very soon to be India to be into. So that is going to have a lot of contribution from the space sector itself on that, both in terms of tangible and also intangible things in that.
When you look at technology, space is technology intensive. We have a fairly well developed indigenous program, but in some of the new areas that we are now getting into, where do you see us, perhaps in areas like exploration and all that, manned missions and so on? Where do we stand, and are we able to develop things on our own? Are we looking at collaborations?
So most of the experimentation that has been done were done with reference to the launching the large satellites and using it for the societal applications. Now we are talking about something related to building up a space station. And building up the space station, we have most of the technology available in India, but however, we also need some international collaborations for this. And for that, the experienced countries like Russia, America, Japan, etc., we are also taking their support wherever it's necessary on that. And similarly, when you are looking at the program like sending the astronauts, that's a Gaganyaan program, and in fact, we only not only send the astronauts into the space, but we also bring them back safely. So in order to do that, a lot of experimentation is required, and we have been doing that experimentation successfully. And once this is done, I think we have a complete control over all the technologies on the space programs.
How does the current Indian Space Congress that we are that is now going on, how is it helping to establish that link between Indian entities and overseas entities? Is it a good platform in that sense?
Yeah, I have to give a little background about why the SATCOM Industry Association has been formed. See, earlier we have many associations related to the space technologies in the country, mostly dealing with the technology related activities only in the space sector. After the space policy has been announced, we thought there is a need in terms of creation of a platform which can be used to kind of collaborate arrangements within the industry or within foreign entities, and also work on the policy related matters with the government. So with that objective, we created the association, and we have been conducting the Space Congress over the last 3 years and bringing the many policy related people, technologies, then the various other departments, societal interested departments, where the space technology can be made use of, and also international expertise to bring out the collaborations into the sector. And this is being used as a platform for bringing all the people into one entity.
Is it easy to access technologies from other countries, even from the US, where it is heavily privatized? Is technology easily transferred, available?
No, there are two types of technologies in this. In general term of the technology part of it, yes, that can be accessed easily from abroad. But there are certain technologies that are controlled by ITAR, what they call that American entities. So maybe that part could be a little difficult for us to do that part. However, depend upon the end use, even some of them also can be sourced. In that.
What is, give us a sense of what Ananth Technologies is doing. You're in all three areas, you're in launch vehicles, you're in satellites, you're in applications. So give us a brief sense of what it is that you're working on.
So generally, the space programs have three segments. One is the launch vehicle, the second one is the satellites making, and the third one is the applications by using the satellites. We are into all three segments of the space program. So that's why we have built our facilities in Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Trivandrum. Hyderabad facility takes care of all the image processing and that means various applications, finding out the solutions to societal problems using the satellite technology as the main input into that. And our Bangalore facility, we can make the satellites, large satellites and small satellites. In fact, our facility is the first of its kind in the private sector in the country in Bangalore. And similarly, the one that we have in Trivandrum is dedicated for the launch vehicle related activities. So there we make the avionics system for launch vehicles, integration of the launch vehicles, then we complete entity. There's a lot of other segments like harnessing, then bring out the navigation, a lot of other things. That part we do in Trivandrum.
We recently saw the test launch of 3D developed rocket engine. Could you tell us something about this? I know it's a different companies, but in terms of the technologies that we have harnessed.
Expecting that launch vehicles are going to be in demand in future. There are many technologies are coming up in the sense that to reduce the costs of launching because the launching costs are very, very high
Yeah.
earlier. Now the idea is to bring down the cost in that. So for that, there are a couple of companies already working in India. They've been experimenting with various technologies. So hopefully once they succeed in this part, I'm sure that cost of launching will come down, and that's most important. Similarly, with the small satellites, the small satellite vehicles also being done by the private sector companies, and hopefully that will also reduce the cost of output that comes of the small satellites.
Would you say India has an advantage in that sense?
India always has advantage because our space program itself is more than 70 years old.
Yeah.
And all these launch vehicle development, satellite development, all have been done. In fact, I must say that we have what's called Atmanirbharata, Atmanirbhar programs. In fact, in space program, I had it from the very beginning. When Vikram Sarabhai initiated the space programs in the country, from the very beginning, they were looking at doing things to the extent possible within India itself on that. So that way, it enabled us to develop many technologies. That's why in the launch vehicle side, we started with the SLV, then we went to the ASLV, then we went to the PSLV, and then we got into the GSLV. So therefore, various technologies have been developed in the process. Similarly, on the satellite side, first we started with the small satellites like Bhaskara, Aryabhatta, and then we increased them, in terms of Earth observation related satellites and the communication satellites like that. So therefore, many things that we have a lot of advantage. In fact, landing on the moon has given immense confidence to Indians that we also can do, and we will be doing it.
Dr. Subba Rao, on that note, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.